Yo, what's up everyone? This is Ali Kermani from Razor USA, and I'm here today to introduce you guys to and familiarize you with the first complete scooter in the new Phase 2 line, the Jason Beggs Signature Pro model. The first step in getting familiar with this and every other product in the Phase 2 line is to understand the approach we took in designing these products. Every product that comes out with the Phase 2 name on it is designed by the riders and for the riders. It should come out of the box, dialed, and ready to go. In fact, this rider's first approach design permeates everything we've done throughout the Phase 2 line, all the way from the very beginning where we have the riders design the product to the bottom line where the riders are getting paid for each of their individual signature scooters that sell. So with that understood, let's take a look at these scooters and start to help these guys make some money. Alright, so let's start this part by part breakdown with the handlebars. Now, as you can see, the Jason Beggs Complete features these riser style handlebars. These ones are powder coated white and also feature these squishy Phase 2 grips. Pretty sweet to ride. Now what you can't see is that these bars are made of 4130 chromoly, the best material for handlebars that we could find. They also have 3 degrees of back sweep, which makes them more comfortable for doing tricks on and riding. And they also have 1 3/8 down tube, which is also known as oversized. And all that means is that they'll work with an HIC compression system, which this scooter has, and which I'll explain to you in a little bit what that exactly is. Last thing you should know is that the bars are 21 inches wide and 24.8 inches tall. Alright, so now that we're done looking at the handlebars, let's take a closer look at the clamps. Every Phase 2 clamp has been CNC'd out of a solid piece of 6061 aircraft grade aluminum. What does that all mean? That just means that we use the very best materials to create the very best scooter parts. Now while we have multiple colors and sizes of these clamps, every Jason Beggs Complete comes with a clamp that he chose. This anodized green 2-bolt coffin clamp. Alright, so now that we're done looking at the bars and the clamp, let's take a look at the compression system and the forks. Now this compression system that we have here is HIC, as I mentioned earlier. And what HIC stands for is Hidden Internal Compression. So let's take this thing apart, take a look at it, and see what makes it work. Basically, all you need to break apart an HIC system is the same 5mm Allen bolt that you use to take the clamp off. So all you do is take that Allen bolt, put it right here in your compression bolt, unthread it, lefty-loosey. Once it's out, you can pull it off along with this compression cap. Then this shim, which hides everything, comes sliding right off. And this is why it's called hidden internal compression. It's because the compression is hidden inside of this shim. So what's going on here is that there's a star nut or some sort of threading inside of the fork. The shim goes around that. The top cap slides in and grabs the top of the shim, and then the compression bolt threads into the star nut, pushing the shim down and locking the fork into the actual head tube. Alright, so now that you got your compression bolt, top cap, and shim off, the only thing holding the fork in here is a slight bit of friction. So to get it out, just grab the wheel, hold the deck, pull down. Should slide right out. Gets us to the next part we're going to look at, the fork. Let's take a closer look at my favorite part of the Phase 2 scooter, the fork. Now the most important thing about this fork that you need to know is that it was designed from the ground up by Team Razor Pro and scooter god John Radke. Now John in his infinite wisdom knew that no welded fork could hold up to the same stresses and strains that a CNC fork could. So he designed this fork to be CNC'd out of a solid piece of 6061 aircraft grade aluminum, the same material that our clamps are CNC'd out of. As I explained before, what does that all mean? All that means is that we use the very best materials to create the very best scooter parts. So with that understood, let's take a look at some of the specific details of this fork. So the first thing you'll notice is that we integrated the race into the design of the fork. Now the race is usually a ring that slides over the fork tube and creates this slanted edge which fits into the bottom bearing ring. But we saw no need for this to be a separate part, so we integrated it into the design of the fork, eliminating the need for that extra ring. Along that same vein of thinking, we've also integrated the star nut. So instead of having a star nut that you press into the fork so that you can thread your compression bolt into for your HIC system, we actually just built the threads right into the fork itself. So the top cap of the fork has a hole that's threaded, and that's where you screw your compression bolt into. One other subtle detail about these forks is that the bottom of the fork has been designed to sit flush with pegs. And all that does is make it so that when you're grinding on the pegs, you don't have to stop at the outer edge of the fork. You can actually grind all the way to the inner edge of the fork and against the wheel, increasing your grinding surface. The next part of these Phase 2 scooters that we're going to take a closer look at are the wheels. Now these wheels were over a year in the design, testing, and redesign process until we finally came up with a wheel that all of our test riders agreed was the very best scooter wheel they'd ever ridden. So what makes these wheels so different from anything else out there? Two things: the polyurethane compound and the design work put into the actual metal core hub. So let's take a closer look at each of those. With respect to the polyurethane compound, we tested all different kinds of combinations of sizes and hardnesses until we finally came up with this 110mm 88A hardness wheel. This was agreed upon by all of our test riders as the wheels that lasted the longest, were the fastest, and rolled the smoothest. The other major innovation in these wheels is contained in the design of the metal core hub. Now, at first glance, I know these look like any other 110mm solid metal core scooter wheel, but the real innovation in these wheels is hidden beneath the polyurethane. Whereas other scooter brands just have a single groove on the outer edge of their metal core hub, what we've done is create numerous grooves, which increase the surface area between the polyurethane and the metal core and increases the bonding area. So that creates a stronger wheel that lasts longer and doesn't de-hub. That, in combination with the polyurethane compound that we have, is what makes us feel that these are the best scooter wheels currently available on the market. A couple last things you should know about these wheels is that each one has laser engraved logo on one side of it. They all feature Razor Swiss style bearings, which are amazingly fast. And finally, the size and polyurethane compound information is actually embossed on the wheel. So you'll see on these Jason Beggs wheels, it says 88A 110mm. Alright, so the final and most important part of the Phase 2 scooter that we're going to cover today is the deck. The way we're going to do that is we're going to start off at the front end of this, work our way through by describing all the innovation and design contained within it, and we'll end up at the back end. So let's get started with the head tube. So let's start off our analysis of the deck by taking a good close look at the head tube. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that the head tube is longer than any other head tube in the industry. This is for two different reasons. First of all, by having it long, that increases the bonding area between the head tube and the rest of the scooter, namely the neck and the gusset. Second, the longer it is, the more distributed the force of the rider's weight is across that head tube. So imagine if this was a 1-inch bonding area and you had a 250-pound rider, you'd have 250 pounds of pressure on that 1 inch. But if this was a 5-inch bonding area and you had the same 250-pound rider, his weight would be distributed across the 5 inches, putting only 50 pounds of pressure on each inch. A couple last things about the head tube worth noting are, first off, the gusset, which adds a ton of strength to the bottom portion of the head tube, and again, increases the surface area for bonding. And second, the integrated bearing cups. You see in the bottom and the top of the head tube, we've integrated the bearing cups, eliminating the need for pressing in separate bearing cups. This is just another step that we've taken to make sure that the Phase 2 scooter is the most rider-friendly scooter available on the market. Now, as we move our way down from the head tube, down the neck, and into the front, it's worth noting that our neck is not plunged through our deck, which is the most common way of bonding a neck and a deck with pro scooters. The reason for that is that the Phase 2 deck is one of the only scooter decks available on the market that is not a hollow box. It actually has an X-brace running through the middle of the extrusion, tying in the front of the scooter to the very back and giving it lateral strength. Now, because of that X and our desire not to compromise that, we didn't plunge the neck through, creating a hole in it. Instead, we welded to the outer surface of it, increasing the weld bead count and making a much stronger bond. While we're on the subject of welds, I invite anybody watching this video, whether you're a rider, shop owner, or owner of another brand of scooters, to take a good, close look at the weld quality on the Phase 2 scooters. The consistency of the weld bead spacing and size speaks to the craftsmanship contained within the scooter. The grip tape on Jason's Pro model is standard Pro quality grip tape and has a graphic on it designed by one of Jason's best friends. Having looked at the handlebars and worked our way all the way down the scooter towards the back end, we're almost at the end of our tour. We're at the back end of the deck where we have our brake, our back wheel, and a couple other little secrets contained. So let's grab our 5mm Allen wrench, the same one we used to disassemble and assemble the rest of the scooter, put it right here in the back axle, and unlock the secrets of the back end of the Phase 2. Alright, so one of the first things that you'll notice when disassembling the back end of the Phase 2 scooter is that, unlike other scooters, when you pull your axle bolt out, everything stays in place. The spacers don't fall out, and the wheel doesn't fall out. Now, the reason that everything stays right where it was at is because rather than using regular spacers, what we've done is we've designed male-female spacers, which actually insert into the sidewalls and stay in place. Once you've got both spacers out, your back brake insert is free to come completely out. And this is really cool innovation that we have. It allows you to dial in your brake outside of the scooter, and when you have it all set how you want it, slide it right in and lock it into place. Now, when you do pull this out, if you look down, you'll notice that X-brace we were talking about earlier. And that runs all the way to the front of the scooter, tying in the neck all the way to the back end of the scooter. One last feature in the back end that's worth noting are these Delrin insert pieces that we put in the back of the scooter. Now these serve two functions. First off, they stop this I-beam shape, which is very strong, from being compromised, from getting hit against things, bending down these two edges. The other thing they do is stop these edges from getting sharp and then cutting the rider's legs. So we put these inserts in, they just slide right in, have holes inserted, and protect the rider and protect the integrity of the scooter deck. Alright, so that pretty much wraps up our tour of the Phase 2 scooter. I hope you guys found this video both entertaining and informative. With that, this is Ollie Kermani for the rest of Team Razor signing out. Welcome to Phase 2.